Hi everyone, David here, and today we are going to learn how to use QuickBooks Online in 2025 without any previous accounting knowledge. So you can spend less time on your finances and more time running your business. Now, by the end of this video, you'll know how to send invoices, get paid, pay your bills, track your expenses, and get all the financial reports you need. We partnered with Intuit to bring you today's video. So to get to the QuickBooks homepage, click the card above or get the link from the description below. Let's dive in. On the QuickBooks homepage, click on the button in the middle of the screen that says See Plans and Pricing. This takes you to a page where you can see all 4 of the QuickBooks Online plan options. Simple Start is good if you're the only person managing your company's finances. Essentials or Plus are good if you work as part of a team of accountants, with Plus being the preference if you need to manage inventory. And Advanced is for larger finance teams, up to 25 users in total. Since I'm the only one managing my company's finances, I'm going to use the Simple Start plan. Notice that you can get 50% off of the retail price for 3 months or get a free trial for 30 days. Choose the option you prefer and then click Choose Plan under the plan you prefer. If you have employees, you can choose to do payroll through QuickBooks Online. We'll cover this in a later tutorial, so for now, click on Continue Without Payroll. From here, fill in your email, password, and your phone number, and then click on One More Step. You'll be asked to verify your information and to provide your credit card number for either the trial or the subscription. Pause the video to sign up, and I'll see you on the other side. The homepage starts with my home dashboard. When you get started with QuickBooks, you mostly see to-do items here. But once your financial data starts pumping through, you'll see your sales and your expenses show up here too. On the left side of the screen in dark gray, you'll see the app's main menu. From here, you can navigate to many different features of QuickBooks Online, including sending invoices, categorizing your transactions, and looking at cash flow reports. Finally, in the top right-hand corner of the screen, you can manage your account settings, your app settings, and ask for help. Now, if you want to get paid through QuickBooks, you need to link your bank account. If you have a widget on your homepage that says Link Your Bank, you can click the Find Your Bank button. If for some reason you don't see this widget on the homepage, you can access it by clicking on the Transactions menu in the left sidebar and then clicking the Connect Account button. QuickBooks connects to a ton of different banks. Select your bank from the button shown, or search for your bank by name by using the search box. I use Capital One, so I'm going to click that button. Regardless of which bank you choose, you'll need to sign into that bank account in order to link it with QuickBooks. In this case, I need to sign into my Capital One account. Notice that I am actually signing in to the Capital One website, not through QuickBooks. So QuickBooks does not receive your bank account username and password. Once you sign in, choose the accounts you want to link, and then you'll go back to the transactions page. Back on the transactions page, you'll see the account that you linked, and when you scroll down, you'll see a list of recent transactions, both expenses and income. We'll go through categorizing these transactions a bit later. First, I want to get paid, and I'm sure you do too. So move your mouse over the Sales menu option and then click on Invoices. Scroll down and click the Create Invoice button to, you guessed it, create your first invoice. There are 2 main ways you can create an invoice. The more common way is to fill out the form on the right-hand side of the screen. And we'll walk through this option together. The first step is to assign the invoice to a customer. To do that, I'm going to click on the Add Customer link and then click Add New. There's a coffee shop down the street that resells our donuts, so I'll fill in their name as part of the customer contact information. Customer profiles are quite extensive, So let me give you a brief overview of the fields you can set. At the top, you have contact information. Scrolling down, you can fill in both billing addresses and shipping addresses. You can add notes about the customer. You can set their default payment terms. And finally, you can set their tax exempt status, as well as an outstanding balance. But the only field that's required is the company display name. And since we filled that in, we can click Save. If you filled in a customer email address, it would show up right here. I'll write this in manually so we have somewhere to send this invoice. The Bill To field would include the full billing address if needed. And next to the billing address, you can set other invoice properties, such as the invoice number, the payment terms, the effective date of the invoice, and the invoice due date. In case you're unfamiliar with payment terms, Net 30 means the buyer has 30 days to pay the invoice. Net 60 means 60 days, and so on. Scrolling down, we get to the meat of the invoice. Here, you'll set each line item on the invoice. To start, I'll click the product cell on the first row. Here, I can select an existing services option or click Add New to add a new product. In this order, we supplied a couple of boxes of chocolate eclairs, so I'll add chocolate eclair as the product name. Since this is a product, not a service, I'll select Service and instead call this a non-inventory item. If you have a SKU number, you can put it in here, and if you'd like to categorize this product, you can add that right here. But what you're more likely interested in is the price and the description. We charge $30 per dozen chocolate eclairs, so I'll type in 30 in the price rate text box. Now I could add that this is a dozen chocolate eclairs to the description, but let's make this very clear and add that clarification to the name instead. Finally, you need to take care of some accounting details. First is selecting an income account. This describes how you categorize the income from this product. Since this is a product and not services, I recommend you start with the sales of product income account. To find that account quickly, type in sales to perform a search. Then click on sales of product income when it appears. The last step covers if you resell this product. If you do, check the I purchased this from a vendor checkbox. Then fill in the expense side of the equation so QuickBooks can manage this for you. Since we make our eclairs in-house, I'll uncheck this and then click on Save and Close to save the product. With the new product now shown as a line item on the invoice, I can go ahead and change the number of dozen eclairs we sent from 1 to 3 by modifying the quantity column. When I click out of the text box, the amount updates to $90. From here, you can continue adding line items to the invoice until you're done. Then it's time to verify the final amount and payment options. Right now, the final amount is $90, but you can make several amendments to that. The first is through sales tax. You can click the Setup link to go through a process to set up automated sales tax. QuickBooks has an up-to-date tax rate library, so you're always going to charge the right amount. Here are some other ways you can adjust the final amount. Click the Edit Totals link beneath the invoice total, and you see 3 more options. A deposit allows you to discount the overall amount by asserting that the client has already put down a deposit against this invoice. A discount, on the other hand, is an arbitrary adjustment to the final price. You can make the discount percentage-based or a flat amount. You can also add a shipping fee. After we finalize the amount, let's make sure that we set up our accepted payment methods. When you click Setup, you'll start going through a verification process to accept online payments. This includes information about your business, information about you, including your personal address, the last 4 digits of your social security number, and other information. And of course, the account you want to deposit payments in. Once you finish setting all of this up, you'll be able to choose from 8 different payment methods to accept on this invoice. That includes Apple Pay, Visa, MasterCard, Discover Card, American Express, bank transfers, PayPal, and Venmo. Keep in mind that online payments are a convenience that you pay for. And for every payment method except for bank transfers, you pay 2.99% of it to Intuit, and you pay 1% on bank transfers. Now, let's say you don't want to accept online payment. That's no problem. You can provide that information to your client in the tell your customer how you want to get paid text box. You can also include a thank you note, other attachments, and even an internal memo for your team. When you're done with an invoice, you can choose to save it for later by clicking on the Save button, or you can choose to send it out by email by clicking Review and Send, or you can choose to share the link directly with your customer. I'm going to send this one through QuickBooks, so I'll click Review and Send. Before you send this invoice, you can change the email subject and the email body on the left-hand side of the screen. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see what your customer will see. Once you're ready, click on the Send Invoice button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen to get paid. Now that was a lot of steps to go through, so I'm going to show you a faster way that might work for your business. On your phone, go to the App Store or the Play Store and find the QuickBooks Accounting app. Open the app and log in. You should see a screen that looks like this. Then tap on the Add Invoice button under Quick Actions. Here, you can create an invoice just like we did on your computer, but this time, instead of doing everything by hand, we're going to use Intuit Assist to create an invoice based on a photo. So to get started, I'm going to tap on the camera icon to open my camera. Now, I just met with the Kevin Cookie Company, and they want us to cater their annual awards breakfast. And as you can see, I made a note of their order on paper. But oh no, it looks like my picture was cropped unnecessarily. If this happens to you, you can tap on the crop icon in the top right corner of the screen and then drag the white points that are on the blue rectangle until all of the details are in the correct view. Once you're done, click on the crop button to see the result, and that is much better. Once you're satisfied, tap on Use this photo and Intuit Assist will get to work on reading your photo details. Okay, so Intuit Assist is done and it needs our help to confirm some of the details. First up is the customer. It is the Kevin Cookie Company, so I'm going to tap Continue. Now, just like on the computer, you're being asked for a bunch of information about the customer. Let's skip all of this and tap Save. Next, we need to confirm the products. Notice how all the details were correctly extracted. We got the apple fritters product, and we just said they were $120 total, and QuickBooks figured out the unit price. So this looks good. I'm going to tap Continue. And this time, QuickBooks knows that this is a product, so there's not any more information for us to fill in on this page. I'll tap the Add button to confirm this product. It looks like we've got two more products that have been correctly identified. I'll quickly add both of these so we can get to the next step of the invoice creation. Just like on your computer, you can add more adjustments to the total. You can set up payment methods, add payment instructions, attachments, notes to the customer, and any internal memos. When you're done, tap Review and Send, and you've just finished your invoice a lot faster. Now that we've done the fun stuff of getting paid, it's time to pay the piper, or at least pay your bills. To do that, I'll go to the Expenses menu in the left sidebar and then click on Bills. When you get to this page, you'll notice you can send your bills to a special email address, and then you can pay those bills directly from your bank account. Let's walk through this together. I'll start by copying the email address, and then I'll go to my email. We've got an invoice from Robbie's Restaurant Supplies that we need to pay. So to get it into QuickBooks, we need to forward this email with the invoice attached to the email address that we just copied. I'll click Send and wait a few minutes for QuickBooks to import the bill. When you do this, about 30 seconds later, you'll get a confirmation email letting you know that QuickBooks has got it. Now, back in QuickBooks, you can find any bill that you forward to that email address by clicking on the For Review tab. Just like when we took a photo of a product order, QuickBooks also wants us to review this bill before we can pay it. So the first step is to click Review. Now you can see the original invoice to reference on the left-hand side of the screen, but we need to digitize this information, and that starts by choosing a vendor. I'll click Add New because I've never imported this vendor into QuickBooks before. And just like with customers, there's a lot of information that you can fill out. We'll start back up at the top with the easy stuff, like the company name. Now, I'll leave it as an exercise for you to fill in the rest of the address and contact information fields. Let me direct your attention down below to the bill pay info. To pay these vendors through a bank transfer, you can fill in their bank account number and their bank routing number as part of their vendor profile. If they're contractors, you can also track their payments for issuing a 1099 at the beginning of the new year. Finally, you have some advanced payment options. You can first set the default payment terms for this vendor. You can also set an account number to always show in the memo line of the transfer. And if you have an outstanding balance with a vendor, you can document that here. Finally, you can choose a default expense category, which we'll talk about more in the next chapter. We'll go ahead and save Robbie's restaurant supplies with just the bare minimum information by clicking the Save button. As we scroll down to look at the rest of the fields, you'll see they're very similar to the invoice we just created. Now, one field we didn't talk about last time, which is also here, is the tags field. Now, tags are useful when you want to track a set of related expenses, perhaps to the same event, job, or project. We won't add tags here, but one thing is required before we pay this bill, and that is the expense category for these expenses. Now, in case you don't come from an accounting background, you track expense categories to identify potential tax deductions. If you are not familiar with these categories, I strongly recommend that you consult with an accountant because there are specific rules for how each of these expense types are handled. Now, I happen to know that the cups, bags, and donut boxes that we bought are part of the cost of goods sold category. So I'll type that in and I can select that category once it comes up. Now we're ready to pay this bill. Click on the Save and Schedule Payment button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Now, bill pay is an add-on service, but fortunately there is a free plan called Basic. With the Basic plan, you get 5 free bank transfers per month. After that, you have to pay 50 cents for each additional transaction. Choose the plan that works best for you. I'm going to choose Basic for this tutorial. Now, QuickBooks is asking us to verify our business just like before. Once you complete the verification process, you'll be able to pay your bills through direct bank transfers. Now you know how to pay your vendors and get paid. Let's go back to those bank transactions we skipped over earlier. To get there, move your mouse over Transactions in the left sidebar and then click on Bank Transactions. Once you connect your bank account and or your credit card account, you'll see your recent transactions pop up on this list below. Here you can categorize your transactions, and that helps you with budgeting, accurate financial reporting, and tax compliance. We're going to walk through categorizing a couple of basic transactions together. Let's start with transaction number 1, Amazon. I just clicked the transaction line to open this up, and if you're anything like me the first time you see this, you're probably thinking, what have I wandered into? We'll start simple and build our way up. Just like with bills, we need to set a vendor and an expense category. We don't have an Amazon in our list of vendors, but QuickBooks auto-suggests a way to add Amazon. So let's click on this link, and Amazon gets created. Let's remove Amazon as the first name here though. And then I'll click Save to commit this vendor. Now, you'll probably see that office supplies is automatically filled in for the category. That's because QuickBooks has seen millions of transactions and can guess that Amazon purchases are most likely for office supplies. In fact, you can see the reasoning behind any of these suggestions by clicking on the icon next to the expense category. This opens the Explore side pane, which makes suggestions for expense categories based on what's selected. So let's see what happens when we select Amazon again. You see, office supplies was suggested based on how other businesses categorized similar transactions. It also looks at how you categorize Amazon expenses. So if you change this category, the AI would be more likely to suggest the new category in the future. Scrolling down, we can see other fields like tags once again. Remember, those are a good way to track expenses and income for a particular job or project or event. And then the memo line allows you to add more detail about the expense in case you need to come back to it in the future. We figured out this section so far. Before we go on to the radio buttons up top or these buttons below, I'll confirm our changes for this expense. Remember, we're starting simple. Next up is Hope Mills, where we buy flour. This is an example of an expense that I've categorized before. So the AI auto-suggested the vendor and the category. Now, if you look at the rest of my expenses, you'll see a number of transactions for Hope Mills. Instead of categorizing them one by one, you can create a rule to take care of all of them automatically. To do that, I'll click on the Create a Rule link. A rule always follows a certain format. In this case, when a transaction's description contains the word hope, like the 4 Hope Mills transactions we see in our list, then you can assign a specific transaction type, a category, and a vendor. And here the AI is just too good. The rule is already set up the way that I would do it. So here's the result. Any transaction that has Hope in the description gets its vendor marked as Hope Mills and its expense category marked as cost of goods sold, supplies and materials. Before I click save, I have to name this rule, and I've got a quick trick for you on how to do this. I try to name rules so that the condition and the actions are obvious from the name. So I'll start this with D-Hope. That stands for description contains hope. Then I'll make a little arrow with hyphen greater than sign, and I'll type CV hyphen, that's category and vendor hyphen, and then I'll just put the category, COGS supplies. COGS stands for cost of goods sold. Now that that's done, let me show you the remaining options. You can see tags, and you can also replace the bank memo line if you choose. Finally, pay attention to this option at the bottom. If this is checked, you don't have to review any transaction that meets this rule. It will be categorized for you. So if we've done this right, these 4 transactions for Hope Mills should be confirmed and disappear once we click save. I'll click save and let's see what happens. And now all those Hope Mills transactions have been categorized. That leaves us one final transaction, a safety auto repair. Now we've skipped over a couple of things to make things simple so far. This time we'll slow down a bit and check on some details together. So far we've only seen categorize, so what are these 3 other options? Match is used when you have a duplicate transaction already in QuickBooks. A common example of this is you get payment for an invoice that you issued through QuickBooks. The invoice is recorded as money coming in, and the actual money coming in needs to match it. Record as transfer is simple. This just means this is a bank transfer. And record as credit card payment is also simple. This is when you pay your credit card, but it's only when the credit card is also an account that you've imported into QuickBooks. Now, if you're interested in seeing examples of these types of transactions, check out our transactions tutorial in the description. One thing we've glossed over is that if you have expenses, you're generally expected as a business owner to track receipts. And QuickBooks makes this pretty easy. And to show you that, I'll take us back to the mobile app. This time, under Quick Actions, look for the button that says Snap Receipt and tap on it. Next, I'll get the entire paper receipt in frame and then tap the camera button at the bottom of the screen. Now, sometimes this might take a cropped picture, but it looks like it was pretty good in this case. Just in case you didn't get the picture you wanted, you can always tap on the crop icon at the top of the screen and readjust the rectangle points here. Since we look pretty good, I'm going to tap back on crop. Then I'll tap on use this photo. This uploads the photo to QuickBooks, where it then starts extracting the information out of the receipt. Let's go back to the transaction page and see if it's done. This time when we click on the AI icon next to Safety Auto Repair, we see that the receipt has been automatically matched with this transaction. And when you scroll down, you see that attachment is now associated with this transaction. Now to finish this one up, I've just added a vendor and the AI chose the category of vehicle repairs. I'll click confirm and we're done with our transactions. Now that you've done all this work, it's time to see some reports on your financial transactions. To access those reports, make sure the sidebar is visible by clicking on the sidebar icon in the top left, then going down to reports and just clicking on it. There are a lot of different reports here, so I'm just going to cover a couple of my favorites. Perhaps the most important one is the profit and loss statement. You can find that up in the favorites at the top. This helps you track what money's coming in, or your income, and what money's going out, like your expenses. You can also track important financial metrics like operating income or gross profit, or even net income. And right now, it looks like I need to do a way better job of managing my business. Now here's a couple things to call out about this report. You can click on any dollar amount to drill into the expenses or the income line items that make up that amount. So when I click on supplies and materials, I see those 4 Hope Mills expenses that I just categorized. You can always go back to the main report by clicking on the back to summary report in the top left. Make sure you don't miss the options at the top. In addition to changing the time period, you can also add filters to the report by clicking on the Customize button. If you blink, you could miss it. Click on the filter option at the bottom to expose all the different ways you can filter your report. If you have a customization that you like, for example, with different filters or different number formats or different dates, you can save that customization as a new report, and this will be accessible on the main reports page. And when you have a lot of financial history under your belt, you'll see that you can compare different time periods. For example, we can compare this year to the previous year to date. And once you make any changes like this, click on the Run Report button to refresh the report. This way, we see 2024 and 2025 compared side by side. And it looks like I'm doing even worse than last year. You know, Mom always said there was money in the donut business, but I haven't found it yet. The last report I'll show you to wrap things up is the balance sheet. Back on the main reports page, click on Balance Sheet to view it. This is where you track assets like cash on hand and outstanding invoices, and liabilities like outstanding bills. It's a good way to see the health of your business at a glance. Now it's up to you to get a handle on your finances. Use the link in the description to get started, and we'll see you in the next video.